This is Mac OS Ken.
China's COVID crisis may keep hitting Apple. iPad grows Apple in India. And the Apple AliveCor fight continues. It is Tuesday, the 27th of December, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Rocket Money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and save at rocketmoney.com/MOK. This show is also sponsored by SimpliSafe, the right way to protect your home. Did you know that property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike over the winter? That's why now is the best time to secure your home with award-winning home security. Make it your resolution to start the new year with greater safety and peace of mind for you and your family with SimpliSafe. I love that SimpliSafe lets you pick what you need to protect your home, and there is a lot from which to choose. SimpliSafe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and out, smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. And getting set up is super simple. I had my system up and running in well under an hour. Get that done and SimpliSafe takes over, offering 24/7 professional monitoring for under $1 a day. That is less than half the price of ADT's traditional professionally installed system. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/MacOSKen. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off your order with interactive monitoring. SIMPLI. That's simplisafe.com/MacOSKen. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. The end of zero COVID policies in China does not necessarily mean zero COVID problems for Apple. One of the concerns expressed about China's transition from what some call draconian attempts to contain COVID-19 to more of a living with COVID approach was the speed with which it was done. Experts worried beforehand that if such a transition moved too quickly, health and other systems might buckle under the weight of increased COVID cases. Flash ahead a couple of weeks and there is worry that we are seeing just that, and that could be bad news for Apple. The Financial Times ran a report Monday saying Apple's business is under threat from a widespread coronavirus outbreak in China, with supply chain experts warning of a growing risk of months-long disruption to the production of iPhones. The piece had the CEO of one components tracker saying there's potential for plenty of kinks in the supply chain outside of Foxconn factories. Inc. CEO Bindia Vakil was quoted in the piece, saying we should be seeing a lot of operations get impacted by absenteeism, not just at factories, but warehouse, distribution, logistic, and transportation facilities as well. Many had expected the March quarter to start a significant turnaround for Apple. Now, though, the under-vaccinated Chinese population's sudden exposure to COVID-19 is calling that expectation into question on both the production side and the consumer side. The Financial Times says as many as 1 million people in China could die this winter due to COVID exposure. At least one Apple store in China had to cut hours last week due to illness among the staff. Additionally, there is the question of what China's consumers will do in the face of the COVID wave. Asimco's Horace Didier isn't sure China will spend its way through the way much of the rest of the planet did. Quoting Didier, though the rest of the world saw demand rise during lockdowns, it was due to work from home and stimulus. With low immunity and minimal safety nets, Chinese consumers could hunker down and avoid big purchases next year. New numbers from market tracker Canalys show iPad growing in India. The firm issued a press release last week covering tablet and PC sales for the country for the third quarter of 2022. According to Canalys, notebooks in India tanked in the third quarter, which brought the whole traditional computer market down nearly 13%. Tablets were up, though. An iPad was up big, with an asterisk. The firm attributes Apple's strong growth in that segment to a couple of factors: fulfillment of backlog demand from the second quarter and promotional activity. Still, growth is growth, and Apple achieved it. The Cupertino company grew iPad shipments in India by roughly 71%, taking third place in tablets for the country with a roughly 12.5% market share. Apple's growth in tablets was enough to spur growth for the combined PC and tablet space. Putting those two together, Apple saw third quarter growth of just over 61%, claiming a fourth-place market share of 5.3%. Mac laptops and desktops do not make the top 5 in India, according to Canalys. A bit of a gaffe for Apple just ahead of the holiday weekend. A piece from iDownload blog says Apple removed the option to upgrade to the new HomeKit architecture in iOS 16.2's Home app late last week. Well, it's not really a big weekend for tech, I guess. According to the report, as part of the transition to the new Matter smart home connectivity standard, Apple has rebuilt its Home app in iOS 16.2 around the new smart home architecture. When the user opens the Home app after upgrading to iOS 16.2, they see a banner or splash screen offering to upgrade their smart home. Or they did. Some people I know had no issue with the upgrade. Others met with error messages, trouble with sharing options, devices that could no longer communicate, and more. While it is unclear how many people were negatively affected, it was apparently enough to make Apple pump the brakes. In an update to its home architecture upgrade support document, the company said it had temporarily removed the option to upgrade to the new home architecture, adding that the option to upgrade will return soon. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most people think they spend about $80 a month on subscriptions. For a lot of people, it is closer to $200 a month. You could be wasting hundreds of dollars each month on subscriptions you don't use anymore or maybe even forgot about. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, could make that a thing of the past. The Rocket Money app shows you all of your subscriptions in one place. If you see some you don't recognize or don't even remember, Rocket Money can take care of those. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/MOK. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/MOK. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/MOK. Apple got an unwanted present from the International Trade Commission on Christmas Eve. 9 to 5 Mac ran a piece last Friday that had the ITC saying that Apple Watch infringes patents held by the medical device maker AliveCor. The ITC decision marks a serious turn in a legal fight that's gone on for the past couple of years, one that could end with a ban on the selling or import of some of Apple's latest watches. According to the report, AliveCor made a ban for Apple Watch with ECG capability soon after the watch was released in 2015. AliveCor's hope was that it could strike a partnership with Apple. Instead, Apple slipped ECG functionality into Apple Watch itself in 2018. AliveCor complained to the ITC in 2021. Apple asked the Patent Trial and Appeal Board to invalidate the patents in question. And now all parties are in a bit of a holding pattern. 9 to 5 Mac says the ITC has declared a limited exclusion order and a cease and desist that could ban the sale and import of Apple Watch Series 8 and Apple Watch Ultra. The order actually does ban that sale and import, though it also suspended enforcement of the order until all appeals between the two companies have been heard. It seems unlikely that that order will ever be enforced, though. The report says the Patent Trial and Appeal Board said earlier this month that AliveCor's technologies are unpatentable, which means they are too obvious or too general to sustain a patent. Apple's on the hook for $98 million in Japan. Actually, for most of us, a bill of $98 million would put us on the hook. For Apple, it's lunch money. Anyway, a piece from Apple Insider indicates that Apple owes Japan a $98 million tax bill. According to the report, Japan offers tax-free shopping for visitors staying less than 6 months to buy certain goods without paying the country's 10% consumption tax. However, the exemption does not apply to purchases for resale purposes. And there's the rub. Authorities on the island nation have found bulk purchases of iPhones and other Apple kit for which the foreigners were not charged the tax. At least one transaction involved an individual buying hundreds of iPhones at once, according to the piece, strongly suggesting that Apple didn't tax a possible reseller. Sounds like Apple knew this was coming. The piece says the Cupertino company actually ended the tax-free shopping option back in June. Apple was not the only company to face this issue. Apple Insider says Japanese tax authorities found somewhere in the neighborhood of 24,000 untaxed transactions that should have been taxed from July of 2021 through June of this year. That's led to penalties and taxes equal to roughly $654 million U.S. And finally today, as darkness approaches for the Apple-owned Dark Sky Weather app, Carrot Weather is making a play. The Carrot Weather app is probably best known for its colorful forecasts. A piece from my download blog says those have 4 categories: friendly, snarky, homicidal, and overkill. While the latest update includes UI tweaks that'll make it more familiar to Dark Sky users, the piece says Carrot Weather includes a number of features that Dark Sky does or did not. Among those are watchOS complications, widgets, a fully customizable interface, additional weather data sources, lightning and storm cell notifications, professional-grade individual radar stations, and more. Now, how much would you pay? Well, you'll pay 25% less for Carrot Weather's highest level with this promotion. iDownload blog says new Carrot users with Dark Sky installed on their iPhones can get 25% off the Premium Ultra subscription. That drops the price from $40 a year to $30. Of course, a lot of the Dark Sky features have been folded into Apple's own weather apps for iOS, iPadOS, and macOS. The standalone Dark Sky app goes permanently dark on Sunday, the 1st of January. This week on the Mac Observer's Daily Observations podcast, regulars and friends of the show are looking at 2 stories a day, the first being the most important Apple or tech story of 2022 in their estimation, with the second being their most interesting or favorite tech story of the year. TMO managing editor Jeff Butts shared his 2 on Monday. One was a real lifesaver, while the other had a lock on his interest. Today, TMO writer Nick DeCorvo looks at a partial Apple get-together and crashing at the amusement park. Tomorrow, Daily Tech News Show's Tom Merritt takes a really intelligent look at artificial intelligence and the state of streaming today. And we'll talk about the rest of this week later this week. If you're not following that show yet, I do wish you would. Monday through Friday, about 20 minutes a day of hopefully really interesting and entertaining conversation. The XML to pop into your podcatcher is in the show notes for today's show and every day since it started, actually. Or you can search for Daily Observations wherever you get podcasts, or go to the source. New episodes of the Daily Observations hit Monday through Friday at macobserver.com. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get a free indoor security camera plus 20% off your order with interactive monitoring at simplisafe.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Rocket Money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and save at rocketmoney.com/MOK. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. macOS Ken will be back later this week. In the meantime, check out the Daily Observations, won't ya? Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.